She has stuck with me through all of my various problems. And
absolutely. That's exactly what you were saying before we went live.
Right. Here we are. Through all of my various problems.
Absolutely.
Let me silence that. Okay.
Oh no, I can hear myself speak now. This is terrible.
No, you got first one.
Yeah, you got that. You got that muted, right?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Cool. So I have not often will get a text from Eric seconds before we go live to let us know if he's going to be with us or not.
Well done. Nice one, Eric. Nice.
I have not heard from him yet, so I'm assuming he's not going to join us today.
But didn't he send an email? Wasn't he in part of that email chain? I thought he'd sent a reply.
I replied. Eric didn't, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he did.
Darren.
That was me.
Now I have to check, just in case. Oh, poop. All right.
Darren, do you have any lightning cables that you can Star Trek transporter over here?
Oh, I do have a couple of lightning cables, but the transporter is malfunctioning currently, unfortunately.
Damn blast.
I showed Guy that I had one, but
yeah, but I know you don't have a transporter.
Mike's got an example of every cable known to man, so there you go.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago I finally got rid of my last SCSI cable.
I was going to say, have you still got your last SCSI cable there?
Yeah. Well, I started with the Mac Plus back in '87, so.
Well, you've got forum on that. Yeah, perfect.
I am certain I've got a SCSI cable right here.
Of course you do.
Of course. Not only have you got one, but you've got one to hand right next to you. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
also, any
impressive.
ADB cables there, Mike?
No. Okay, this is FireWire.
Did you ever hear of those, Darren?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, back
Apple
in the day, I
Desktop
used to.
Plus.
Yeah. Back in the day, I used to work for a university, and we had that was before I was into Macs in a way. But yeah, I remember all the old connector types, and I also remember being the only one who knew how to set up a Mac network, even though I wasn't into Macs at the time. I was the only one that could do the magic incantations with the little boxes. Exactly.
Anybody remember Adaptec? Anybody remember Adaptec?
Yep.
No, I don't know that.
That brand? You don't remember Adaptec?
Familiar?
Oh, is that like the 15 pin?
Oh, it's about 970 million pins in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is a USB to SCSI adapter.
Well, that's unusual. Okay, that's pretty unusual. Yeah. Wow.
I use that quite a lot. And I'm disappointed to say I don't have a SCSI cable right there. I've got all kinds of cables, but I don't have a SCSI cable. I know I have one at the office. Oops.
I do not.
We believe you. We believe you.
But
I gave up on anything old recently. I've had a bit of a clear out myself, Guy, actually. So so I've streamlined everything to trying to get rid of all the old stuff and just keep what I currently use, and I keep a few choice things that I can help people out with their older equipment as well. So just a few things that I can like take out a drive and mount separately, that sort of thing.
I had a I had a 2012 Mac Pro and what was it? Can't remember. Wow. But back in the day, I also had a UMax C600, which was a 603E, and that I upgraded to a dual 604, which was just a fabulous machine for the day. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
And then I also had a Motorola Star Max, which was the biggest piece of crap I ever owned that was Mac related in my life. It was terrible. But the Umax machine was fantastic.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with such things.
that was a clone
Not that.
in the
Yeah.
clone.
Oh,
days.
I see. But back in the clone years,
That was
yes,
the clone years.
the Clone Wars, should I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quickly
was running,
kiboshed by Mr. Jobs when he came back.
I was
Quite
running
rightly,
just a
quite
9 on
rightly,
that
because
thing.
they were all a bit of a mess, weren't they? They're all very similar models, but there were like
Well, there were
300 models on the website.
there was
They're
like
pretty much all the
there
same.
was a 603 standard motherboard and there was a 604 standard motherboard, and some of the manufacturers just tried hanging all kinds of stupid crap on them, but those were the first machines that would use non-SCSI hard drives. What was that standard?
Well, there
For
was
the
the
drives.
well, way back when there was MFM and RLL drives. There was SCSI.
It was for the internal drives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think Macs ever went that far back for MFM drives.
I don't
but might be
think
wrong.
they did.
No,
No.
there was a standard for Windows machines.
Parallel.
And you could get like all these cheap drives, but because they didn't have SCSI, you couldn't use them in a Mac.
Not directly, anyway. Yeah.
Right. But these machines actually had the Windows standard internal connection for whatever kind of drives those
Oh,
were.
I see. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There was the ATA, and then that was before the serial ATA.
I think it was ATA, or well, it could have been.
Yes. Probably SATA. Maybe, well, ATA or SATA. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So I
That
had
would
like
have
a
been
ton of internal
Pre
storage
SATA though.
in that machine.
That would have
I'm
been
trying to remember the oldest Mac I used. I can't remember now. I think it was the pizza base type one. The power.
Oh, the 405 Performa.
Performer. That's
410?
the one. Perform. That's the word. Performer. Yeah. So it was the
Yeah, there
first
was
Macs.
Performa, Centris, and Q. It was started with a Q. Quadra.
Do you mean
Quadra. Yes.
IDE?
That rings
Is
a
that what
bell.
you mean? The IDE
Maybe.
drives?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
that what you're talking about?
That sounds
Yeah,
like it. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
IDE. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a load of those. We had the Education iMac, which was suitably low priced, and everyone really liked that.
Yeah, it was a
so, yeah.
G4 too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looked
Back in the
like a
Power
great
PC
big
days.
huge white iMac.
Yes.
Beautiful machine. Yeah,
Beautiful machine.
I went from I had that Mac Plus for like 7 years, and then there was a computer chain. Was it Circuit City or maybe CompUSA? One of those two were closing down in '94, and I picked up real cheap a Performa 575, which was an all-in-one machine with a 14-inch monitor, color monitor. And it was great. I thought it was a wonderful machine. And then at that time, my wife was pregnant, and they had given her. Now this is in 1994. They gave her. It was a 286 to log into work and work from home. And again, this is working from home in 1994.
Wow.
And because she was a Unix administrator.
Mm-hmm.
So she
Yes.
was doing something on her little, on her computer, and I was at my Mac right next to her, and I'm like, oh, how quaint, command line interface. And she just kind of stopped what she was doing, looked at me and says, can your Mac do this? And she typed a little bit, and all of a sudden, like 5 windows opened up and stuff is flying all over the place. And it was like, no, ma'am, I'll shut up now.
Oh, that's the height of luxury. Back in the day, I had to share a 286 with someone because they weren't able to give us one each.
Wow.
So that's how bad it was. And of course the 286 back in the day, that was Windows 3.1, I believe. That couldn't even run a web browser. So funnily enough, I used to do the Unix thing as well. So what I used to do was to remote onto a Unix graphical session from the 286. and do astounding things that people looking over my shoulder thought,
Blown
hold on a
away.
minute, a 286 can't do that. What are you doing? How are you doing that?
All over a network connection.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, you could run a browser in Windows 3.1, Windows for Workgroups. In fact, most people ran NCSA Mosaic. That's what I used.
Oh, could you use Mosaic at that point? Okay, yeah.
You
Right,
had to
okay.
install the TCP/IP
Interesting.
stack separately. You had to.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, there was
yeah.
everything you had to install separately, but you could do it on Windows 3.1. Was it Windows 3.11, Windows for Workgroups, something like that?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
that's
we
one of the
had,
first things I did actually to do a little course for people to how to put all those TCP stack items in the high memory area, but do it manually so that you had the most efficient use of high memory and to manually place each part of the stack in hex in the right area of memory. Those were the days where you couldn't just like plug a cable in and you're online. You had to install your own 5-piece part of a software stack manually in memory. Yeah.
I remember I was doing IRS World Headquarters in New Carrollton, Maryland, and they wanted the CCTV system to interface with the alarm system. So if an alarm went off, a camera and a camera preset would go off, and the camera would, zoom right over to where that area was. The problem was neither system was compatible with one another. So I had to have someone from, I think it was either RCA or the company that took them over for closed circuit television. I think it was Burl, or no, it was Pelco. It was Pelco. Contact me and tell me how to create a video alarm and then how to trigger a contact in the alarm system so that when something would happen, it would automatically trigger the camera and go to a preset condition. And it was like
Wow.
all these hex lines of code.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at the very bottom, a checksum.
Well, that wasn't easy back in the day. I mean,
It was not.
we could have. I mean, it's a little bit of a challenge to attempt now, and which way to go down, which road to go down to do it. But back then, you're talking incredible complexity to get anything like that off the ground.
Well, once I figured it out, and because I had 150 alarms to do, which was not fun. Yeah.
No, that's challenging.
And because I had to set one to turn it on, and I had to set one to turn it off.
Yeah.
And those were two separate commands. So it was, I had 300 commands to figure out in hex, but I finally got it. I couldn't do it today if you put a gun to my head, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And even worse, I was programming out all of this in the beginning with a $10,000 alarm server on a table that was supported by two what do they call those in construction?
Sawhorses, yeah.
Sawhorses, yes. And I'm sitting on a paint bucket. I had no furniture. That's what I was doing it on while construction was going on.
Oh, that's it. That's computing by the seat of your pants.
Literally, yes.
Well, let's be honest. Most computing was by the seat of your pants back then.
That's true. That's true.
And we didn't have fancy Ethernet networks. We had Novell networks with BNC coax cable running from desk to desk to desk, and
so now you've built memories now. Novell networks.
Yeah,
nice.
Lots of fun. Talk about stacks upon stacks of stuff you had to load at boot time every time on your computers.
Oh, one of the guys in our admin block back when we were using Novell, he ticked the wrong box at one stage, which meant that every time someone logged in, as they logged out, their account was removed. So slight problem out there. So when I came in the next morning, nobody had an account, and we had like several thousand people not able to log in or do anything, or
excellent.
Mostly lost data. No, that wasn't good. I mean, me and my boss, we spent best part of the week getting things back together again. And I made him promise that he owed me a big crate of beer, and he's never given me the beer.
Bastard.
So I'm gonna have to try and look him up now. This is like 30 years later. I'm gonna have to try and look him up.
Where's my
do you
beer?
remember that beer? Yeah, where's my beer, man?
Nice. So let's see. We have a topic. I kind of shared some rough notes with you guys on that. I broke it down into very rough talking points. And let's see. I have a brief intro, most of which you have heard because I kind of was trialing the intro in my emails back and forth to you guys. So got a brief intro, and then I thought I would throw it over to you, Guy. And
you're first.
Yep, throw it over to you first, and then we'll just kind of go from there. And I don't know how much we'll stick to this rough outline I created, or if we'll just go off on complete different directions, which we often do. So,
not me.
Who knows?
Well, hopefully the tangents we go on are related actually to the subject in some small way.
In some very small way, yeah. So I have we'll do our welcomes, and then I've got a brief intro to the topic, and then like I said, I'll throw it over to you, Guy, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Fabulous.
Guy has an essential app. He came prepared.
Unlike some.
Would anyone else like? I have one. But would anyone else like to share a tip?
Ooh,
I have one. I have one. So
I sort of have
no
a
worries.
tip, yes, as well. So yes, I might have a tip.
Well, might have and can actually present one are two very different things.
This is true. I've only just thought of it. I'll write my tip down just in case we need it, and then I can jump in and hopefully do a possible tip.
All right. It's
Okay.
on you then.
Uh-oh.
Like I said, I do have one. You don't have to rush and get one down. I have one, but just in case you wanted to do one.
Okay.
Oh, that's going the wrong direction.
Man, my voice is still rough from when I was sick the other week.
My hair is doing wild things, but never mind.
Well, I'm not that worried about that these days.
Oh, nice. Yes, I think I'll have to go down the same route actually, because it's too much trouble. More trouble than it's worth.
I was offered. I don't think you've ever met him, Mike. Donnie Yankelo.
No, never met him.
He's a teacher at a Jewish school in Baltimore, and he asked me if I would come in and do a talk to.
Oh, yeah, you said you were going to do that. Yeah,
and 7th and 8th grade potential. Well, the 7th and 8th graders were already doing the school podcast, and the 5th and 6th graders were like the ones coming up. So I got the presentation ready, and I went in, and I first had the 7th and 8th graders, and they were great because they already kind of had an idea of what was going on, and I'd already talked to 2 of them. And then the 5th and 6th graders came in, and it was like herding a room full of cats. And,
oh God!
Yeah, it was all about the 6th grade drama. So I got to a certain point of the presentation and said, okay, let's just look at hardware, because I'd brought a bunch of microphones and stuff and just took them out, gave them to them, and never even bothered to hook them up. But they sat there in front of an iPad that was recording video and a Blue Snowball USB mic for audio. And they were holding those microphones up to themselves and talking and doing all this stuff. And I just kind of sat back and watched to make sure they didn't destroy any equipment.
Destroy your equipment, yeah.
Right. But it was fun. I had such a good time. And, they were all good kids. All, herding cats aside, they were fine. They were fine.
That's cool.
And it was fun. I would love to do something like that again.
I did not know who you were presenting to when I sent you that email with, where to upload your show to, because
Yeah,
you had
I
mentioned
wouldn't.
wanting to do it for free, and so that popped into my head because when I started, I wanted to do it for free, and
Right.
that's where that came from.
Yeah, they actually use RSS.
Not RSS, archive.org.
Oh, archive. Okay, they use something from RSS.com or something like that. I'd have to look at it. Maybe it's RSS.org, where they offer, there's a free tier for people uploading audio, and it's unlimited.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and archive.org, of course, they're the ones who have the Wayback Machine and
Yeah.
just,
Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to check it here real quick, but my Mac is gone. Yeah. Somebody grabbed the domain and they put a bunch of Turkish writing on it. So,
wow. So, I mean, when it expired, you typically have about 90 days to reclaim it if you want to, but
okay. Well,
we're live. We don't want to talk about that right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer. Well, that's what happens.
That's 30 years.
That's what I always caution my clients against. They have a domain and they want to go to a new domain or something like that. And they say, well, what do I do with the old one? Keep it. It's going to cost you all of $15 a year. But one of the very first things that I see happen, and like you said, the Turkish whatever, is adult content is often uploaded to these because they wager on it being a reasonably popular domain that's going to get them the traffic that earns them the money that they get from displaying this content. So for $15 a year, it's well worth keeping the domain if you at all care about your reputation.
I did a section, or I did like 6 or 7 articles at my Mac on using iWeb, but to make it look like you weren't using iWeb.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I talked about making templates and all this stuff. And I had a domain called MacParrot, macparrot.com.
Yeah.
And once the article was done and I was complete with it, I just kind of let it lapse, didn't think about it. And then it was like 2 years later, it was like, that was a pretty good domain. Let me go check and see if I can find it. Nope. Somebody had parked crap on it. And GoDaddy in their infinite wisdom was like, well, if you pay us $100, we'll negotiate with whoever it is.
Sure.
And guarantee you'll get it. And it's like, no.
Yeah. I'll bet.
Yeah. And I think he actually sent me an email one time. Whoever it was that had the domain was like, "I'll sell it to you for $1,500." And it was like, "No, you keep it."
Yeah, it's all yours.
And he finally did just let it lapse, and I grabbed it. So I have it again, but I haven't really done much.
Well, I just looked it up, and I could see it's pointing to WordPress.com.
Yeah.
So that must be you.
And it's a WordPress site that I made.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Well,
I think
should we get
guy
going?
Called Mike that could help you with that.
I got to look up something here real quick. Going to what we were just talking about. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that after we're live, but it's an unusual way that they went about grabbing that other domain we were talking about.
Oh, intriguing.
Anyway. Okay. Well, let's get started.
Let's go.
Let's get started. And we are at only 33 minutes in.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping everybody entertained.
I think I'm the only one watching it at the moment, unless there's somebody else there.
Brian often pops in.
Audience of one. Excellent.
Currently,
I see nobody watching it.
I have it up.
So, here we go in 3, 2, 1. It's For Mac Guys Only, episode number 469 for March 28th, 2026. Should you stay or should you go? Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Guys Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And joining me to talk Mac upgrades in the age of Apple Silicon are Darren Davies. Howdy, Darren. How are you doing?
Hi there.
And co-host of the G-Men podcast, we welcome back to our show, Mr. Guy Serle. Howdy, Guy.
Hello, Mike. How are you today? And oh, by the way, thank you for joining me a few weeks ago when Gaz couldn't make it. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. That was a blast. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. I'm always happy to be on your show, and I'm thrilled to have you back on this show.
I'm thrilled to be going back to MacStock, too.
Yes. Yeah. That's July
11th. No,
10th?
9th.
9th? Well, 9th is Thursday. 10th, 11th, and 12th. The 9th is Creator Camp at MacStock, and then the 10th, 11th, and 12th are MacStock itself. So, yeah.
I know. I'm ecstatic, just waiting at the edge of my seat, jump in my car and start driving to the Chicago area.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And remember, we do normally record for Mac Guys Only live on YouTube the second and fourth Saturday of the month. And if you would like to come hang out, ask questions, and be part of our live studio audience, be sure to subscribe to the show at youtube.com/FMEO And if you are joining us live, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat room over here to my right. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them in there, and we will address them here on the show. Well, I recently came across an article in my news feeds from one of the bastions of tech authority, probably Yahoo or MSN or one of those sources. But
Sure.
regardless of their tech prowess, the article actually raised a really interesting point. With the release of the M5 processors that are undeniably better than the previous generation of processors in that they offer better graphical performance, better SSD performance, and for those who use it, improved AI performance, something we talked about last episode. Not to mention the availability of more memory and storage. The question that they raised was, are those of us who leapt to Apple Silicon with the M1 series of system-on-a-chip processors almost 6 years ago, now at the point where we should consider upgrading our Macs? Because, let's face it, the M1 was such a leap above Intel CPUs that the question comes up, how important is it to upgrade to an M5 when the M1 can still more than hold its own for our daily tasks? Now, of course, as I said, the M5 is better, faster, stronger, and it can probably leap over tall buildings in a single bound as well. But
Absolutely.
with CPU scores only roughly double that of an M1, do we need it, or do we just want it? Now, as I said in my email to you guys, I expect we're going to get a little philosophical, maybe we'll get a little technical, and we'll definitely, or at least I will, share an opinion or two. But I wanted to get started with you, Guy. What are you currently running, and have you been casting a longing glance at the new Macs that Apple's releasing these days?
Yes and no, for various reasons. Currently, my main computer is an M4 Pro Mac Mini.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the big reason, because I had an M1 Mac Mini and loved it. I thought it was just a fabulous machine. But last year, and it was part of the reason why I didn't go to MacStock last year, is that July 11th was going to be my last day at my office, which was, I worked for the U.S. Department of State. So knowing that my income was about to be severely curtailed, I figured, okay, I had better get the fastest machine that I can now because I may not be able to do it later. So that's when I picked up the M4 Pro, and I didn't necessarily need it. However, now that I have it, it is noticeably faster than the M1. Now on the portable side, I have an M1 32 gig, 1 terabyte internal drive, 16-inch MacBook Pro.
That's no slouch.
That is a crazy fast machine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I have
usable.
been
Yeah,
using
very
that.
useful.
Oh yeah, I've been using that for like 3 or 4 years. And the only time I really use it is when I go out of town. So it's got, it's almost like the car that the little old lady drove to church on Sundays. This is a computer that I don't use all the time. As a matter of fact, because I will be bringing it to Macstock, I have been going through it and saying, "Ooh, okay, I need to get this app and I need to update this and I need to do this," because again, for the most part, it just sits around. So when I look at a portable machine, I have to say that on the laptop side, yeah, I've been jonesing for a better machine. And my thought process is I have not used, even with the M1, I have not used most of the power that the M1 has. It handles audio, it handles video, it handles anything I throw at it with absolutely no issues at all. But I would like something that's a little lighter. So I'm thinking M4, M5, MacBook Air will probably be my next laptop. But yes, I look at the performance differences between the M1 and the M5, and I just kind of go, "Ooh, yeah, that sounds something I really, really want." The difference between an M4 Pro and an M5 for the stuff that I do, I don't think is enough to make me pull the trigger there.
Yeah.
But 5 to 6 years on a laptop, I think is long enough.
Yeah, it's a fairly good run. Well, it's a pretty good run. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still a great laptop. I mean, I'm not going to change it now. I have a trip to Florida I got to pay off before I start thinking about a new laptop. But yeah, my next opportunity, I'm probably going to get an M4 or an M5 machine for a laptop.
I definitely get the lighter. A 16-inch is, it's a heavy machine. I haven't had that large of a screen for a portable Mac in quite some time. Right about 2 feet from me is my 17-inch MacBook Pro from years gone by.
Yes.
And then next to it is my 15-inch. And now, and then I went to a 13-inch, and now I'm on a 14-inch, right? So that 13 to 14-inch size has become my sweet spot. Now, granted, I do run, I push the resolution of my display to the higher resolutions. I don't scale it down, but I do push it up to a higher resolution so I can fit more on the screen.
Right.
But having a nice, light, portable Mac has become important to me. And carrying around a 16-inch, I think, is that's just not tenable any longer for me.
The other, you see, I can't really do that with my 16-inch machine because I have some vision problems that I've got to deal with. So I need the higher resolution just so that I can see all of the pixels that are on the screen.
Yeah.
So I also have a 15-inch monitor, one of those flat monitors that I take with me that I can connect up through the HDMI port that's on the M1. And there are compromises you have to make. So between the 15-inch monitor, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, an iPad that I typically just use to watch, movies and play games and stuff like that with. My backpack also, let's remember the microphones, the interfaces, the cameras, and all of the other crap that I take with me every time I leave my house because I'm me. That backpack is probably in the 40 to 50 pound range. And by the time I go from my house to the airport, to the next airport, from there to a hotel, I got this like lean on one side. So yeah, I'm looking for a little less weight.
Now, one interesting thing about your setup, you've got the M4 Pro Mac Mini. That is the current standard for the Mac Mini. There is no M5 Pro Mac Mini
Not
at this
yet.
point. In fact,
Not yet.
Apple hasn't updated any of their desktops yet to the M5 yet. I expect it. I expect
Coming real soon
probably.
now.
I expect the
Probably-ish.
Mac Studio will probably go to the M5 Max, and the Mac Mini will go to the M4 or M5 and the M5 Pro. I expect that'll happen sooner than later.
Well, that's interesting because it wasn't that long ago that they updated the Mac Studio from the M2. I think, is it an M4 now?
It's M4 Max or the M3 Ultra. Those are the two models that you can get. Yeah.
So I don't think that they're going to update the Mac Studio until next year. And what they updated to, I have no idea. They may jump from the M3, M4 to M5, M6, or maybe just M6, which I think they should have done with the M4 Mac Studio as well. Just gone to the, not have a regular, but have Pro and Max and Ultra versions of the Mac Studio. For all intents purposes, the Mac Pro is dead. And I don't think they're going to bring it back because the Mac Studio handles all of the functions with all of the internal capability. Now, you have to have Apple put it in, but all of the internal capabilities of the Mac, of the previous gen Mac Pros, that's all handled now by M3 Ultra and M4 Max Mac Studios. There's no need for a Mac Pro at this point.
Yeah, Studio's the new Pro, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I will only disagree with you on the M5 or M5 or M6 or M6 Pro, whatever, for the Mac Studio, because I believe the progression in Apple's mind is if you want an M4 or M4 Pro, you're going to get the Mini. And if you want the M4 Max, you're going to get the Studio. I mean, I think that's just kind of where their minds are. So when or if they upgrade these to the next generation processors. Now, that was a good point about going from the M2 to the M4 on the Studio. They didn't have an M3 Mac Studio, did they? I don't think they did. They went from the M2 on.
Right, because they had the M2 Max and the M2 Extreme, as I recall. And I could be wrong about that, but I thought they were both M2 chips, or maybe they went from the M1s to the M3, M4.
No, there was definitely an M2. I know there was an M2 Mac Studio.
Yeah, there was an M2 and a M2 Pro, M2 Max.
Yeah.
But no M2 Ultimate or whatever it is. So that was skipped over it went M3 Ultra.
Which makes, that honestly to me makes no sense because the Studio is supposed to be your most powerful desktop machine. And you've got a Mini that has a higher grade chip in it than the Studio. And I don't get that. It's like, if you're going to have something like the Studio, and these are not inexpensive machines, even the low end is well over $2,000.
At $19.99.
Yeah. And that's without any upgrades. That's, your base model Studio, which is still a fine machine.
Which is a fantastic machine.
Right.
Actually. Yeah.
But the next time that they update the Studios, I would hope that they would go, save the Ultra chip, the M5 Ultra chip, for the next version of the Mac Studio that comes out. So your base model Mac Studio would have the Max, M5 Max, and your higher end Mac Studio would start off with, I don't remember, the Fusion M5.
The Ultra. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ultra.
Yeah.
Well, I brought up the desktops.
Together.
I brought up the desktops because that is Darren's primary Mac, is an iMac. And at the moment, we don't have any M5 desktop Macs. But
No,
In this
not yet.
hypothetical world where there is an M5 desktop Mac,
Wow. Oh
what
no,
are
you put
your
me on the spot.
thoughts? Where are you currently, and what are your thoughts on upgrading?
Very good question. Pretty similar to what Guy said, actually, with an answer of yes and no. So yes, as you said, I'm currently on an M1 iMac, base model with, well, not base model, but the mid-range one with 16 gig of RAM at the time. That was at the time when you had to spend extra for RAM, but now we all get our lovely 16 gig as part of the base price. So in effect, you know, when you're buying a new Mac nowadays and you're thinking of upgrading, don't forget that RAM angle, because you know, not too long ago, well, say just over 5 years ago, for the in the M1's case, we had to pay extra for the likes of 16 gigs of RAM, but now we can get all that lovely RAM built into the base model price. So there you go. You can save money and upgrade at the same time. Well, nearly. You could almost sell it to yourself that you're saving money. But yeah, it's working out fantastically for me. I absolutely love my iMac. I've always loved the iMac setup. My previous one was the last Intel iMac, and I was itching to upgrade. And the reason for that was when Apple came out and presented the whole concept behind Apple Silicon, and what it meant, and how it was put together, and how it worked, and how the architecture was significantly different to what everyone is used to, and how all the interconnects work and communicate across buses, and you're almost thinking, well, hold on, I mean, with this very high level concept of a system on a chip, essentially there isn't much of a bus there at all, and so it's much more efficient than older bus-based systems. So I was so impressed when I think it was Johnny Saruji came on stage and showed the world what was coming with Apple Silicon. I was sold. About 3 minutes in from when he was talking about it, I was like, oh, I'm there. I'm sold. I want one. So I was very, very quick to sell my last Intel machine and move over to M1, because I really, really, really wanted to explore this new system on a chip architecture and Apple Silicon, because it was so different from everything else that people, well, myself and everyone else has been used to over the years. So
But
yeah,
Darren,
that was.
what machine did you have as your last Intel machine?
That was a very good question. It was a, you might have to look this one up. It was whatever the last 21.5 inch Intel iMac was, whatever model that was. So there you go. So to me, I mean, there was a controversy at the time, and to be honest, there still is with the iMac. People bemoaning the fact that the 27-inch iMac is no more, and but for me it was an upgrade. So I was coming from a 21-inch iMac, and going to a 24-inch iMac was fantastic. It was like, oh look, bigger screen, this is excellent. But everyone else was moaning out that came from a 27-inch and saying, oh no, I'm not sure if I can cope with this smaller screen.
Well, I kind of, because I had a 2017 top of the line, not the Pro, but a 27-inch iMac. And when the M1s came out, I knew that I wanted to stop kind of using iMacs, because I'd had a screen die in one, and trying to deal with that turned out to be a real pain in the neck. But going from, and I think it was an i7, the 2017 iMac that I had, going from that to the M1, the only thing I had to buy, other than, of course, the Mac Mini itself, was a screen and keyboard. And
yeah, it does make sense. I mean, in the early days, before the iMac was announced in Apple Silicon form, I was so enamored by Apple Silicon itself. I was almost thinking of ditching the whole idea of an iMac, and I was thinking, okay, perhaps I can do the modular setup. Maybe a Mac Mini. I was thinking of maybe the Apple Silicon laptop. At that time, that was the M1, the first M1 laptop. And I thought, oh, I can dock this. I can turn it into a desktop and move things around. I was that close, but I was so enamored of the iMac lifestyle. I got a quite minimalist setup.
Yes.
But I managed to hold myself off and think, okay, let's just wait for a bit. It shouldn't take too long before the M1 iMac came out, and I think it was just a matter of 4 or 5 months or so. Something like that. But the trouble I have at the moment is I get temptation almost every day. So I go to set up machines for other people as well. So here's me with a 5-year-old M1 iMac, and then I go to set up various people's M4 iMacs, and someone I set up recently with an M5. Oh, is it I'm not sure if it's an M5 Air or is it an M4 Air. It's probably still an M4 Air, but one with the large screens, a 15-inch or 16.
Yeah, I think it's
something like that.
16.1-inch screen.
And being so impressed, I've got to stop myself drooling, thinking, oh, and that's when, coming to your point, Mike, that in a sense, I don't feel I have to upgrade, even though I've got a 5-year-old machine. It's working absolutely fantastically, almost the same as when it first came out of the box, which for a 5-year-old machine is quite astonishing, really. So I don't technically need to upgrade, but the want to upgrade component there is definitely there. It's starting to claw at me and thinking, oh, is it time? So yes, I'm definitely looking towards an M5 iMac. I will have to restrain myself, put it that way.
Well, I know a friend of mine bought an M4 Pro, not too dissimilar from the one I have, a Mac Mini. But then she also got the at the time, this is like a year and a half ago, top of the line Apple display, the 27-inch Apple display. And when I hooked that up and it first booted, I was like, oh, God. I said,
I want one.
This was up in New Jersey. And I was like, I kind of need to take this monitor with me back to Virginia because there's some calibration that I need to do. You understand, of course. And she knows me. She kind of looked at me and says, you are taking this over my dead body. It was like, okay.
She immediately started looking up what the extradition policies are from state to state. Yes.
And it turns out New Jersey has very strong ones. I would have been in big trouble.
So what I'm hearing in general, and I think this holds true for me as well, except for one case, and this will tie into the next topic, which is what Macs are good candidates for upgrading. But what I've been hearing so far is the Apple Silicon Macs that we've each started with, your 16-inch MacBook Pro guy, your 24-inch iMac, my 24-inch iMac, other than, and in my case, it was a shock to go down from the 27-inch to the 24-inch. But that was overcome very quickly because I simply bumped the resolution of the 24-inch to match that of the 27-inch, and I could fit everything on screen that I could fit before, just in a smaller, more compact space.
Absolutely. It's only 3 inches.
But when you put them side by side, it's a big difference. It's a big difference between them.
Yeah, but guys always talk about size.
Family show guy.
Yeah, I know.
But the M1, in my case, it's a 16 gig with a 1 terabyte SSD in it, and this M3 MacBook Pro that I'm on right at the moment, which was the replacement for my 2018 MacBook Pro running an Intel Core i7, the Apple Silicon that we've started with in general is where we still are, because these machines just perform so darn well
Yeah.
that need. Even when I sit down, and I do the same thing as you, Darren, when I sit down at somebody's new iMac or newer, Mac Mini or what have you, MacBook Air, when I sit down at that and use it for the general day-to-day stuff that most people use these machines for, I'm not noticing a big difference between what their machine provides and what my machine provides me.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it looks like a very good jump, and to be fair, it is. From a percentage point of view, and you can see all the benchmarks, and you can see the benefits and so on, and they're absolutely true and correct. But like you say, when you walk up to an M1 Mac and you click an icon and it takes 1.6 seconds to launch or something, and then you go to a super duper machine next to it and you click the same icon and it takes 1.2 seconds to launch instead, and you think, okay, excellent, I spent lots of money upgrading and I've saved 0.6 seconds.
You've expanded your lifetime by 0.5 seconds. Yes.
Yeah, every little helps though, but yeah.
Perception ends up being reality, and when you look at just the specs, and especially the way that Apple presents them, you're like, oh my God, it's because if you'll notice the comparisons they're making now, because it used to be, M1, M2, M3 compared to Intel.
Right.
Now with the M5, it's like, well, it's 75% faster than the M1. And that's when you know that Apple's silicon has not only arrived, it's taking first place in the marathon, because Apple is not going to go back from this. And there's no reason why they should. But the fact that an M5 is 50, 75% or whatever the percentage is faster means nothing if you're looking at opening web pages, or you're working on a Word document, or whatever your mundane day-to-day tasks are. Mm-hmm. It makes no difference, really.
Yeah.
So it becomes, in my mind, a question of want over need. Now, I swapped out my M1 Mac Mini to an M4 Pro just because I knew that my financial situation was going to change. But I was perfectly happy with that M1, and I would still be using it today if circumstances hadn't changed, because it was a fantastic machine. Gaz is still using his.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my other thing. Traditionally, Apple supports their devices and OSs for each device for 6 years from inception. So since the M1 is now 5 years old, does that mean that after the next OS, we'll start to see OS support start to dwindle perhaps, or even be a cutoff point at some point? Because that's probably the point where I would not just want to upgrade, but have to upgrade, I think, because I can't be using a Mac with an older version of Mac OS on it.
Well, actually, that's a good point, Darren, and I do have some thoughts on that I want to get to in just a little bit, because, and just as a little preview to those thoughts, if Apple is going to do that, it's going to be artificial constraints, much like they've done with the end of the Intel processors. They introduced these artificial constraints that were proved by third parties to be artificial, when we could do something like Open Core Legacy Patcher and get the latest versions of unsupported Mac OS running just fine on our 8-year-old Macs. But that's a conversation for a few minutes from now, because I would like to go to something that we've been kind of dancing around a little bit here, and that is what Macs are the best candidates for upgrading. If someone is thinking about upgrading from an M1 to an M5, and let's include the M4s in this too, by the way, because at the moment, the only M5s are portable Macs, and then we've got the M4s in the desktop. That's at the time we're recording this. Now, if someone is going to upgrade, what are the best candidates? Now, we each said that we had 16 gigabytes of memory, varying amounts of storage on our Macs. And that's that's less of a technical need than it is a personal need based on how you like to keep stuff stored on your Mac and things like that. But what are the best Macs for, or what are the best candidates for upgrading if you're thinking about doing it?
You want me to take that first?
Sure.
Right. You mind if I start with saying what ones not to update?
Oh yeah, that would actually, that's a really good place to start. What shouldn't be updated?
And assuming that, well, not even assuming, we all know that M5 Mac Minis and M5 Intel machines are coming up. So with the assumption that those are coming, in my mind, if you already have an M3 or an M4 desktop Mac, I would not update. If you have a M2 to M3 laptop, I would not update. So that kind of leaves the M2 for desktops, and in my mind, the M2 for desktops and the M1s for laptops. Because day to day, you're not going to see that big of a difference unless, of course, you're pushing to do something with 8K video and things along those lines.
Right.
But for day-to-day tasks, save your money for the M6 or M7.
Okay. Good point. Yeah. And while it is definitely tied to the series, to the particular M series system on a chip, we'll just generically say processor. I mean, that's, you know, but while it is directly tied to the particular M series processor that you have in your Mac, there are other considerations in my mind that seem to come to me above whether you have an M1, M2, or M4, and that is how much memory did you get when you purchased the Mac? Despite Apple's arguments and our arguments that we had on the show here when we talked about whether 8 gig was enough, and I think
Neo
we came to
has
the
proved
conclusion that it was.
Yeah.
You know, 8 gig it was enough, and that was the conclusion we came to. Apple's telling us it's enough with the MacBook Neo, but despite
you
that,
could sort of argue both ways, but yeah,
if you have an M1 that by its design came with 8 gigabytes of memory, and maybe you said, hey, I'm going to save on storage and go with 256 in it instead of 512 or a terabyte, I think you should probably consider upgrading. Applications are growing in size all the time. File sizes that we produce using those applications are growing in size all the time. That is probably the bigger consideration in my mind, is the amount of storage you have and the amount of memory you have versus which particular processor you're running. But there's one other thing I thought of, and that was just as I was taking notes, and that is if you purchased one of the iMacs with just 2 ports on it, I think you might consider going to one of the, you know, if you're going to upgrade, go to, let's say, an M4 or M5 iMac with the 4 ports. Get those Thunderbolt ports. Get that Ethernet port on the power adapter. Little things like that actually make a big difference. And I would think in day-to-day usage, a bigger difference than whether you're running an M2 or an M4.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the RAM in particular is a more important consideration than the capabilities and speed of the CPU in a way. I mean, there's other components to the Apple Silicon SoC as well, which includes things like the media encode engines, so hardware blocks to encode video. And they started out, I mean, they've been improved gradually over time, but they started out with the M1 as being spectacularly good. And to this day, I can encode video with Handbrake using hardware video toolbox compression, using those cores, and get really, really, really good fast results as well, because it's not necessarily using the CPU to do the hard work. It's using those extra dedicated video compression cores. So there's all sorts of little extras in that Apple Silicon SoC over and above just thinking about the CPU. And I think it also depends on if you're going to do any 3D work. So, for instance, the 3D side of things was just starting off with the M1 implementation, and now 3D speed and abilities and so on, including ray tracing and other things in hardware, have come on leaps and bounds. So that's another thing. So it's possibly more of a what software do you want to take advantage of as an idea to whether you should upgrade, rather than the age or capability of the hardware. So yeah, look at what you're doing. So if you want to do 3D work, then yes, I'd say a good idea to jump on the upgrade side of things. But if you're not going to take advantage of those very specific improvements in new versions of Apple Silicon, then you can easily stick to what you have for as long as it's supported. And I think that Apple Silicon is so good, I think Apple might even be tempted to thumb its nose up at the competition and say, well, yeah, we're going to carry on supporting this M1. No worries, our new OSs are going to be streamlined, and they'll run on the older hardware just as well as they run on the new hardware, and we're supporting them for 7, 8 years or whatever. So to beat the competition and say, look, nobody else could do this.
Well, remember that there's all of these M series processors have more in common than they have different. That
yes.
The big difference between the M1 through to the M5 is number of cores that are dedicated to some of the, whether it's CPU or GPU or part of the neural engine. The other thing that's different between the M1 to the M5 is die size when the chips are actually made. So that's where some of that extra speed comes from, is that
faster memory.
Right. Well, not only that, but the distance between CPU and GPU and the neural engine and the memory and storage and all the rest of that keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So that speeds things up quite a bit too. But if you go out and get the Apple's new Creative Suite, which I have not yet done, you're better off running that on an M4 to M5 machine than you are an M1 or maybe even an M2, because those chips are the ones that the Creative Suite is kind of geared toward. And I think you'll have a much better experience with a faster computer with software that has those kinds of demands. Very similar to what you were talking about with 3D. So yeah, if your core use for your Mac is along the lines of high-end video or high-end audio, where you're running, especially audio, where you're running hundreds of different possibly hundreds of different tracks as part of your workflow.
Yeah, that'll be worth upgrading.
Yeah, it would be worth upgrading.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is actually good, because we're diving straight into the next topic, which was or is for those who need it versus those who want it. For those who need it, what is that driving force to move to the M5? Because if someone needs it, the truth is they probably long left the M1 or M2 anyway. They're the software stack that they're running, as you pointed out, Guy, and you pointed out, Darren, with the 3D applications. The software stack is what's driving the move, not the need for the move.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the hardware lasts a lot longer than people may think it should last. Like the average lifespan of a PC might be 3 years or so. You might find that with pretty much every Apple Silicon machine, if you from when you buy it, it will easily last the full 5-6 years.
Truth is, I was a little shocked when I was putting together some notes for this episode, and I looked at my M1 Mac Studio and realized how old that machine is. It feels like I just purchased it.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it?
It's shocking that it is as old as it is, and yet when we recommend, let's say a new Dell Pro Slim desktop to somebody, and they say, well, how long should I expect this computer to last? And you say 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
wait,
and then
3
after
years?
that time, it's worthless.
three years? Yeah, about 3 to 5 years. That's about the life.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's not so much the hardware as it is the software that they're running on top of it that Microsoft keeps adding more and more bloat to every year.
I honestly, Mike, I think I have to disagree with you on that, because a lot of the machines that people are buying on the Windows side are from the big makers, and they're not buying top of the line machines. They're buying either middle of the road or lower end machines, and the cheaper that you get with Windows laptops, the worse experience that you're going to have going down the road. The batteries don't last as long. Screens don't last as long. The plastic that holds the whole thing together doesn't last as long. And, one of the things that has made something like the Neo so compelling is not only its price, but the fact that Apple put together a high quality machine for such a lower price. I mean, the damn thing is, it's made out of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get Windows laptops made with that kind of build quality.
Well, not for that price.
Not for $599, that's for sure. So, when you tell someone that their Windows machine is 3 to 5 years, that's a hard out for most of those machines, and that's just because of
for
the
low-end
software
machines.
that might change. It's just because the hardware won't last that long.
Well,
right. And the lower end machines won't be worth anything after its lifetime.
And keep in
whereas a
mind,
Mac will.
I'm not talking about low-end machines. I'm talking about the Pro Series machines. I'm talking about the aluminum-clad laptops that cost $1,400 to $1,700.
But the MacBook Neo is aluminum clad as well.
Right. No, I'm not. Well, I'm not talking about the Neo at the moment. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I still feel, even with the high-end machines, you can get more life out of them, but it's not the build quality of the machine. Which, and I will say, you put up the little cross when I mentioned Dell, but their Dell Pro series or the Optiplex series is the old name for them. They're very well built machines. And with the right operating system on them.
They're not bad for a Windows machine.
Versus an HP that is very bad for a Windows machine. But
Yes.
if you put the right operating system on them, they're going to run for freaking ever. But Windows puts demands on hardware that you don't get with other operating systems that are written to run more efficiently, like Mac OS or Linux or what have you. So that's why I say 3 to 5 years. Many will get more life out of them than that. Many will not. Heck,
not necessarily updated.
I just put Windows 11 Pro on a 2018 officially unsupported Pro level desktop machine, and it ran better than Windows 10 ran on that very same machine.
What says more about Windows 10 than it probably does the machine.
Exactly. So that operating system.
The problem there is it's probably not going to be because what Windows does is it checks itself every time it has to download and apply an update to see if it's applying that update on a supported machine. So if you've
it's been installing updates fine, Darren. It's been installing updates fine.
Wow.
It's
but
yeah.
it may not carry on installing updates in the future.
Microsoft is more concerned about making sure people keep running Windows than they are whether they officially support what they say should be supported. That's always been the case.
They might roll
Windows 8
back on that, because they did officially put a notice out to say that future updates won't be installable on machines that were not supported. So, but you're right, Mike. I think they may think about rolling back that idea and not actually going ahead with that.
It's
Well,
been.
I have what we're talking about. I have an HP computer that I
I'm
got
sorry.
no, it's fine. It's fine. It was a Best Buy refurb that I basically just use as a gaming machine, and I've had it now for 3 to 4 years. It's got a decent 8 gigabyte video card in it. The only thing that's gone wrong with it has been because I put it a kind of a cheap SSD in it, 1 terabyte SSD, which died. But the rest of the machine runs very well. And even with, the only thing that really bothers me about it is because I don't game a whole lot. When I do turn it on, that means I have to spend the first 45 minutes to an hour with all of the various updates that have come up in, last couple of weeks or the last month since I fired that machine up. And with Apple, our updates are easier to deal with for the most part. I find Windows updates to be very tedious, and you don't get a whole lot of feedback. Not so much on what they're for, because Apple doesn't either, but for how long it's going to take and whether or not it's really worth it to do the update. Is it worth taking that time to let the machine, have to go down and spend however much time it takes to update itself? Is it worth it? Whereas with Apple, it's like, oh, okay, well, this update is generally for, some bug fixes and security updates, because they keep pushing, bad guys out there keep pushing the envelope on exploits, and they really are looking for an exploit that will automatically run on a Mac. And so far, to the best of my knowledge, they haven't been able to do it. It almost always takes some kind of interaction,
user intervention.
Yeah, it's really
in order
difficult
to make it happen.
Yeah.
A lot of users have to let bad software in, but they often get tricked to do that. So it's not necessarily a hacking thing or finding an exploit in the OS. It's often tricking people to install things they should be more careful about installing.
Yes.
But I took us down a rat hole that we didn't need to go down.
Yes, slightly off topic.
Because I did want to touch one thing, and I've mentioned this on the show before, but it ties directly into what each of you has said. The software stack matters. So when you're considering whether you need to upgrade or not, the only Apple Silicon Mac that I've upgraded in the time since the advent of Apple Silicon has been an M2 Pro Mac Mini that I purchased for MacStock to run the video production desk. And it was about 2 years into its life when I realized that what I was doing with it, pulling 4 cameras into it, recording all those cameras individually, ISO recording those cameras, and live streaming at the same time, and the thing was stuttering like a son of a gun. It was at that point. It was at that point I said, you know what? Maybe this isn't the right machine for doing this. And so we upgraded to an M4 Pro, and that is handling what I needed to handle with aplomb. And the M2 Pro has been put into, to Guy's point earlier, has been put into service as a replacement desktop Mac for someone's 2015 iMac. So, these machines have so much life in them. And that is probably one of the, that's going to bring me into, bear with me, let me get through this thought. that is going to bring us to one little opinion piece I want to share here, because Apple Silicon, as we've been saying now for the last 45 minutes, Apple Silicon, and specifically the M series processors, are so good. They are so good that Apple has, in my opinion, created a situation for themselves where the need to upgrade on a triennial basis, that is every 3 years or so, which probably was fairly common with the Intel series Macs, is no more. It's no more. I mean, we just said, my machine's 5 years old. Your machine is 6 years old. You know, we're talking on a machine that's 3 years old. And I think, and here's the part, let me get through this. I think that explains the MacBook Neo.
Yes.
Okay.
It is a device that was built to be very Mac-like. It was built to be powerful, or just powerful enough, but with some hard baked-in limits. Limits that are based on an outdated iPhone Pro processor and designed to encourage users to upgrade after only a couple years instead of the 6+ years or more that users are proving that they can get from an M series Mac. Go.
I don't.
Ooh, yeah, I think
I don't disagree with that. When I first heard about the Neo, the part that kind of stuck in my craw was, okay, hold on. Here's a machine, 8 gigs of RAM, and it's not even the latest A series chip.
Yeah.
You're putting in a 2-year-old A series chip. And, you know, the first thought in my mind when I heard about this is like, okay, well, this is a baby Mac. This is a Mac for people who've never had a Mac before.
Yeah.
And
My first
then
Mac.
it actually came out. And people started using them and started talking about it and started video blogging about it. And I can't remember who made the video, but I was watching somebody take a Neo, and they were transcoding 8K video from Final Cut Pro through, I think it was Handbrake.
Marty
or
did
something
that.
like that to turn it into 1080p.
Yeah. Marty.
And as they were doing that, they were scrubbing the timeline of this 8K video, see what was the next part of it that they were going to do. And I was just like, what?
Hold on a minute. That shouldn't be possible.
You're doing this on a machine that I thought was a baby Mac?
Limited?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
still,
surprising what it can do.
yeah, but I am not considering that as a laptop replacement.
No, not for us. No.
No,
But for the intended market, though.
And it would probably, you know, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, and I try not to do that too often because I just make myself crazy, is the Neo with 512 of storage, 512 gigs of storage,
Yeah.
would probably do everything that I wanted to do for $699. It would handle, you know, 1080p video with editing very, very easily. It would probably handle recording 3 or 4 tracks in Hindenburg Pro, along with using Elgato, Ecamm Live, and all of the things that I'm. Oh, it won't? Okay.
It will. It will. We talked about this too. It will.
Yeah.
But one of the big issues with the Neo and the Air, actually the Air is one of the non-recommended machines for it as well, is that there's no active cooling. And without active cooling, you can be pushing the computer a little harder than maybe it needs to be pushed and cause some overheating situations if you're trying to do too much with it. For basic needs, I actually think it would be fine. You know, my wife uses Ecamm Live on a MacBook Air, and it works fine because she's not pushing it that hard. She's not bringing a whole bunch of cameras into it and recording those cameras and outputting those to a live stream and all that. She's just using it for presentations. So for that, it's fine. but officially they'll say, no, no, that's probably not the best machine to do it on because you don't have those fans. You don't have something to keep it cool when you start pushing it the way that we say you can push it if you want to go that far with it. And I
Okay,
think
I'll
that's
have to
true
talk
for some of the
to
others.
Katie and Doc when I go to MacStock on July 9th of
Yeah.
2026 in Crystal Lake, Illinois, for people who haven't already heard this, and ask them, if I got a M4 or M5 MacBook Air, could I do Ecamm Live at the same time recording 3 to 4 separate tracks in Hindenburg? And I'll have to wait and see what they say.
Okay, another rat hole. I think the
Yeah.
argument that would be made is you don't need to record those tracks in Hindenburg because Ecamm Live will record those tracks as ISO tracks for you. But
As individual tracks,
yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
you have Darren on an individual track and I'm on an individual. Interesting. I was
Yep.
not aware of it. Okay.
We'll talk.
Okay. Okay.
But so what you said, I agree with everything you said. I agree with everything you said about the MacBook Neo. And that's why I was very careful to say they made it just powerful enough. I feel as if Apple has realized that these MacBook Air users aren't necessarily feeling the need to upgrade. But maybe someone who's running an A18 Pro in a couple years, not right now. Right now it does great. But in a couple years are going to say, this is really starting to dog it a little bit. I think I'm going to get the model with the A20 Pro or whatever is current at that time.
Whatever the next one is.
And it is one of those things that, hey, look, this is a corporation that needs to make money. They don't make any money when we don't upgrade our computers. So they need to figure out some way to keep that churn going. And they've done really well with the iPhone. With the iPhone, they figured out how to get people to want that upgrade every year. But Mac users, we're not necessarily feeling that pull every year unless some of
We're a
the other
special
things
bunch.
that we've mentioned so far in this episode come into play. So I think the Neo is a fantastic computer. I'm amazed by everything it can do. The build quality is phenomenal. It is a fantastic student computer. It's a fantastic introduction computer for people. It's a fantastic day-to-day computer. It's a fantastic throwaway computer if that's what you need. You need something where you don't have to worry about that $1,500 computer you're carrying around in your backpack. It's a $600 computer instead. It's fantastic for that. And for people who are using an iPad and kind of casting a little glance over at the Mac and saying, gosh, I wish my iPad could do this, it's a great upgrade for them as well.
And it's
Fantastic
even
computer.
an upgrade from the iPad Pro, which is much more expensive.
Much more expensive, especially when you add that keyboard to it.
Especially the keyboard.
Yeah.
So I was going to say exactly the same thing, Mike.
So, yeah, I think it's a great computer, but I also feel like it's been released with a little bit of a look forward to earlier obsolescence than what we get with our MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros and our iMacs and what have you. That's just my feeling on it. Now, you haven't had a chance to say anything, Darren.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I think the iPhone is a slightly different example because I think because of the amount of iPhones and to a certain extent iPads as well out there, they've hit a critical mass. So I don't. In fact, I'd say I disagree with you there, Mike, on that particular thing that you've identified there. In that I don't think most people do upgrade every year on the iPhone. I think it doesn't matter too much because Apple's built up such a high critical mass that there's always a contingent of that entire market that it will be time to upgrade for. So not everyone upgrades at the same time. So that's quite good, I think, for Apple because it means that at any one year, they could have like a quarter to an eighth of the owners of iPhones upgrading to the latest one. So every year they get sales, enough sales, but it's only because they've hit that critical mass. And currently they won't, and this is where I completely agree with what you were saying about the Neo. They haven't hit that critical mass for the laptop market, and especially the lower end laptop market. So I think Apple have very deliberately designed the Neo to a price point, and they've done a spectacular job at doing that. And people underestimated what is possible with an A18 Pro chip. You would think, well, there's no chance an iPhone chip is going to power a whole laptop OS and do all the big demands of what laptops usually require. It's going to crawl. But they've demonstrated quite easily that an A series chip can run macOS in its sleep quite easily. I think the only reason, I don't think Apple specifically chose to limit the laptop at 8 gigs, but it's because that particular chip SoC for the A18 Pro can only have 8 gigs because it's part of the chip. So if you're going to use that chip, you can't have anything anymore. You can't add any more. You can't change it. But like you said, Mike, I think you're right that there's possibly more of a more frequent upgrade cadence potentially for laptops at the lower end. And traditionally, Apple hasn't done any lower end laptops. So that means that the next machine is likely to be an A19 Pro, which will come with 12 gigs of RAM and make quite a big bit of a difference.
And what was that, guy?
Oh, I think what we're also seeing is Apple's realization that the iPad is never going to be a replacement for the Mac.
Oh yeah, what's a computer again?
Yeah, exactly. The changes that they've made to the iPad OS with iPad OS 26 are spectacular. The fact that we now have an actual GUI, a real working GUI for the iPad is spectacular. But not many people are going to buy it for a GUI-based iPad OS.
For that reason, yeah.
Just for that reason. And I'm thinking that this could going into the future, this could mean a consolidation in the iPad line, because right now we have the iPad mini, we have the iPad, we have the iPad Air, and we have the iPad Pro. If you can get a real Mac, and eventually these Macs are all going to come with touchscreens eventually.
Okay.
We can go into that. What is the point at that point of having a iPad to use as a regular day-to-day machine? And it's not that it isn't capable, because at the very last Macworld Expo, I didn't take a laptop. I only took the iPad that I had at the time, and I did video and I did audio and I did all the things that I normally use an iPad for. Not easily, but I was able to do it on an iPad. So, but it was more an exercise in frustration, because it took me twice as long and it was twice the work to get it done. So people aren't going to buy iPads as professional content creation machines. They may use it to record content, but for the most part, at some point, they're going to switch it. And, Chuck Joyner may disagree with me. I don't know what his setup is on, because I know he records with phones and iPads.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people that are recording on their iOS machines are then transferring that content to a Mac in order to use Logic or Final Cut Pro or whatever their editing software of choice is. So I could see the iPad Pro going away. I could see the iPad Air going away, the regular iPad becoming a little bit more powerful, and the iPad Mini. So you would have an iPad Mini if you just want something that you can sit in your lap on an airplane and watch movies with, and the regular iPad with a decent camera similar to what they have in the Air or the Pro, and use that to record video or record audio in some cases. So I think eventually we're going to, because I don't think the iPad market is growing. I think it's been pretty stagnant for a while. It's certainly not growing like the phone has. So at what point does Apple just, cut their losses and say, okay, we're still going to have tablets, but it's going to be an iPad mini for people that want just a quick portable machine and a regular iPad for people that want a slightly bigger screen, and include with that iPad something like the smart keyboard.
Yeah. And I agree with you 100% on the professional productivity side of things with the iPad. However, before the letters come in, I know for a fact that there are a good number of people who
Yes.
use the iPad solely as their productivity machine.
And
I could not do it.
And you can do it, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it. I do feel like it's a little like, shoving that square peg through a round hole. I personally feel that way. I feel immense frustration when I try to do even the simplest things on an iPad or the phone. Often I'll start to do something on the phone and I'll just toss it aside and go get my MacBook out and I'll be productive. That's me. Other people are productive on the iPad. So, I think we all understand that does happen. But my personal take on it is, yeah, I agree with you.
You know what the biggest problem is? The Finder. It doesn't have a Finder. You can't you can go into files and look around and get the stuff that you want. But just saying, okay, well, in this particular part of this video, I need this sound file.
Right.
Well, on the Mac, it's Command spacebar, and you can just bring it up. And they have something similar on the iPad, but you don't know where it is.
Right.
It could be almost anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a level of frustration, and the fact that iPad apps aren't created in the same way that Mac apps are.
Yeah.
I have a friend who uses LumaFusion for video creation and editing, and he was going on and on and on about, oh, this is great. I just have to do this and I just have to do that. And when I tried it, I found that everything was icon based. So you also then have to remember what icons did what particular thing, instead of just going, oh, okay, well, I know that here in Final Cut Pro or here in iMovie or here in CapCut, which is what I typically use, it's just this little thing right here. And it's a level of simplicity that doesn't lend itself to the iPad, not because the iPad can't do it, but because developers don't include it.
Yeah. I will say, folks, I know who use LumaFusion, love it. Yeah. Absolutely think it's the best thing.
It's the bee's knees.
Bee's knees. I've not used it. I can't say one way or the other, but the folks I do know who use it absolutely love it. And it's only available on the iPad. So
yes,
there you go. Anything else that we want to add to this conversation about, upgrading your Macs in the age of Apple Silicon?
I was going to mention one thing, but
yes.
that that could be a tip if you like. We could make it a tip.
You can't just be making up tips on the fly, Darren. You said you
That's-
had a
Oh, a
tip.
fly-
Now you're making up another tip. You know, before soon, I'm going to just
it
give
could
my
be a
tip.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. So yeah, this is as we were discussing earlier on, the best way to choose when it's a good time to upgrade which hardware. And the website that I use is the Mac Rumors Buyer's Guide, which is particularly good because it tracks when the inception date of different hardware happened, and the likelihood of judging by previous upgrades to that product line, the likelihood of when the next upgrade will be. So it gives a very nice little simple traffic light system saying like, buy now, possibly buy, maybe, but be cautious, and then don't buy. So you can see when would be a good time to buy a particular device because it's just about to have an expected update to that line. So I use that website all the time.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And Every Mac is another good website for doing that sort of thing as
Yeah.
well. At least it'll tell you when a Mac was released, when it was taken off the market, and it'll even give you things like how much it should sell for roughly if you're selling it independently versus selling it or buying it through a third party and things like that. So lots of good information on everymac.com. So we'll put links to both of those, the Mac
Excellent.
Rumors Buyer's Guide and everymac.com in this
got one
episode's show
more.
notes.
But it's a little bit different. A lot of times when you're looking for an application, you find out that application is either too old or it's too new or it won't run in your machine. A great website that I have found to find something different in that same category is alternative2.com.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Where you just put in whatever that piece of software is, and it'll give you 5, 10, 15, 20 different bits of software that will do the same thing. And it'll include when it was made, who made it, whether it's free or has is a subscription based or all of that stuff. And I have found that to be, that's how I found CapCut. Because I was looking for something that was a little more than iMovie, and I didn't want to go to Final Cut Pro. And I found that for what I needed, DaVinci was too complicated.
A bit overboard.
Right. And I find, because all I'm basically doing with video is I'm resizing it, I'm putting in fades, and I'm changing the audio levels, and that's it. So CapCut gives me multiple tracks, and it gives me keystrokes and all of the rest of the thing that I need in order to say, okay, well, I want it to be at this level here, and then a little bit farther down, I want it to be at this level here. And CapCut gives me all that without the complexity of something like Final Cut and DaVinci.
And just to make sure I have the right site, was alternative.2, wasn't it? Or is it something different? Because I just went to alternative.2 and it looks considerably different than it used to, although it still promises to do what it used to do. Oh, is it alternative2.net? See,
I think it's alternative2.net.
Okay, that's the one we'll link to. Oh yeah, that's the site, alternative2.net.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. Very cool. Well, then I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this topic. Are you considering an upgrade from an older M series Mac to the M5, or are you just sticking with what works? Be sure to leave your experiences in the comments of this week's show notes found at formacisonly.com. And that brings us to the aforementioned quick tip this episode, which Darren says he has one for us. What's your quick tip, Darren?
No. I almost used my quick tip up, but I have another quick tip. So excellent. Here we are, a piece of paper. So yes, I have another tip, which is to do with I helped someone out in Australia. Shout out to Alex in Oz, who recently upgraded Mac OS to the latest version, 26.4, and had an application refuse to work anymore. And I think we've sort of mentioned this before in the past, Mike, when sometimes after an upgrade, and potentially more frequently now, the permissions that you've previously granted to applications need to be reviewed again. And sometimes you need to go in and give that app the permission back again after you've had an upgrade. So that was what happened in this case. So I had to grant one of the applications that Alex had installed to say it was allowed to look for devices on the local network. So he previously allowed that to happen, but after the upgrade, that permission was revoked. So permissions are a good thing because they keep us nice and secure, but sometimes they can be confusing for people who don't remember that they'd granted a permission to something, and they need to go back and review it. So the tip is just to go to security permissions and check what you've given permission to, especially after an upgrade. So review those permissions again. So it's a good idea as a matter of course, every time you have an upgrade, to go through and have a little look at what apps you've given permission to, and just review the situation. Because Apple quite rightly doesn't want to just let a piece of software gain a permission and then just use that forever, and then 19 years down the road you find out that wallpaper app that you gave permissions to look through your entire library of users, that and it siphoned up all the data that it shouldn't have done, and it was nefarious all along. So yes, permissions are good, but we need to look through them every time there's an upgrade.
That's actually a really good tip. And what's interesting about that is that most apps, let's say an app does lose permissions that it needs, most apps will prompt you. They'll say, oh, hey, I need permission to do this. I need permission for full disk access. I need permission to see your files and folders. I need permission for this or that. But as you found in the case of your friend, that doesn't always happen like it should. So if you do need to double check those permissions, it's under settings, privacy and security, and then right there are all the various permissions that apps have or don't have to access the stuff on your Mac.
Yeah. The particular problem in this case was you were quite right. It did actually say what the app needed to have permissions for when it went through the troubleshooting stage. The trouble is it was badly written, and you couldn't really understand what it was trying to get at. There was just this hidden box. Well, there was a non-obvious box to say open permissions and do this. But if you don't understand what you're doing, then you can easily get lost. So it's down to the application itself to word these things very nicely so that people can actually understand what steps to do to get an app working again if it needs permissions again. So in this case, it was just very badly written, and you couldn't tell what it was getting at, really.
And you know what? Let's add on to that tip for just a second there, Darren, because something just triggered in my mind as you're saying that. When something pops up on your screen, if you don't fully understand what it's asking, it's always a good idea to say no and then ask somebody else. Get a second or third opinion. What is this actually asking me? Should I be doing this or should I not be doing this? Because that type of pop-up is very often what's used by malicious actors to get their software onto your Mac. So if you're never sure or not sure about a particular prompt that pops up on your Mac screen, the second quick tip would be ask somebody else.
Ask an expert. There you go.
Ask an expert. Ask an expert, or just get a second opinion. Take a picture of what's being asked on your screen. Text it to a friend or family member who maybe might know the answer to it, and get a second opinion. And I think that's a case of it's better to seek forgiveness
than to just grant permission.
That's right. That's right.
Very true.
And with that quick tip out of the way, thank you, Darren. We are up to our Essential app, and the Essential app is something we've been doing now for a couple of years on the show. What it is an app that we find particularly useful and we think might be useful to you as well. And as we do when we have a guest on the show, Guy has said that he has an Essential app to share with us this episode. What is your Essential app, Guy?
Well, before I get into the Essential app, let me go down this little rat hole.
Ooh, love rat
It's a
holes.
story. Excellent.
People who do a lot of audio on your Mac, you are probably well aware of Rogue Amoeba because they have some fantastic audio apps, Audio Hijack, Loopback, Farrago, Pizio, and there's a few others in there as well. But the big three have always been Loopback, Audio Hijack, and I just said it, Farrago.
Yeah.
There's a and these apps cost money, as they should, because Rogue Amoeba is not a company that's in the business of not making money, and they're fantastic apps. But not everybody needs the granularity that you get with something like Loopback and Audio Hijack. If you need that granularity, then get those applications because they're fantastic. But if all you want to do is route audio around a little bit, Elgato just came out with some software called the Wavelink 3.0. And you can set up different channels to do different things. And it's really kind of amazing. You can put Farrago in one and different microphones in another, or, if you have a mixer or whatever it is, whatever your audio sources in or are, you put those in one column. In the next, however many columns you want to go out, you might have an output of stuff that you want to hear. In the next one, it'll be the output that you need to go to your stream, or that you need to go to the person that you're talking to, or whatever your particular reasons are for routing different bits of audio, but minus maybe that particular person so that they don't get that feedback. Elgato Wavelink 3 for free will do all of those things. And it is a great piece of software for people that need relatively simple audio routing.
Nice.
And it's
Very
free.
nice. And it's free. And that is, let's see, you gave me the link. That is elgato.com. Now, the link is rather long after that. I think there must be a shorter way to get there.
No, I'll send you the shorter one in our chat.
Okay, sounds good.
I did put it in the YouTube video. Whoops. Why didn't it go there? Okay. There.
Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's the link I had. So elgato.com, and then depending on your location in the world, in our case, it's /US/EN for US English, /S, not sure what that stands for, /wave-link-app.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's free. Elgato makes a lot of great hardware, but it is not a company that I thought to turn to for software like this. So it's really cool that they released something like this. Obviously, it's partially released to support their microphones and cameras and things like that.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
this will work with anybody's microphones, anybody's cameras. And interestingly,
As long
I
as
just
those
noticed,
microphones are already coming into your computer.
as long as the microphones are coming into your computer, this will work with it. And interestingly, I see that they also have a Windows version of it as well.
Yes,
So,
they do.
yeah, all for free. Very cool. Great pick, Guy. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And with that said, that's going to do it for this episode of For Mac Guys Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I do love to get your letters, so if you have a comment about the show, Remember, remember, bleep, 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 bleep. That's all, folks. Remember, I do love to get your letters. So if you have a comment about the show, a tip to share, a software or hardware problem with your Mac, be sure to leave your favorites in the comments of this week's show notes found at formaceyeesonly.com. Or, of course, you can always drop me a line, mike@formaceyeesonly.com. And do be sure to subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV and click the little notification bell so you can find out when we are going live. You can join the chat room and you can catch all the behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Hey, Guy, what is the best way for folks to get a hold of you, and where can they watch the G-Men show?
Oh, I am so glad you asked me that. If you would like to contact me, you can send me an email through the email client of your choice to gmenshow@icloud.com. We have a presence on, I like to call it Twatex. I think everybody knows what that service is, as well as Skies of Blue as Guy and Gaz, GUYANDGAZ. And if you'd like to get a hold of me on those two services, I am either Mac Parrot or Vert Shark. We also have a Google Voice number, which we talk about all the time, which is 703-828-4677. If you're outside the U.S., you may get charged, so find other ways to do that instead. If you'd like to watch our videos, we have our YouTube channel, which includes not only the G-Men show, but also Guy's Daily Drive, which was a show that I was doing in my car on the way to work from 2018 to 2023. And they're all in the Vert Shark channel over there on the Tubes of You.
The Tubes of You. You know, the Guy's Daily Drive was always great fun to watch.
It was completely off the top of my head. Whatever came into my mind as I was driving.
Always enjoyed it. And it's worth going back and watching a few of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reliving the days of commuting to work.
Yeah.
That's right. And Darren, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that'd be great. No worries. Send me an email at darren@formaceyeesonly.com.
No Tubes of You for you.
Not yet.
Not yet.
My God, I think I have 700 to 800 videos on YouTube.
Wow.
Good
I have 6 in a
gracious.
private channel.
Yes, there's a lot there. Well, remember, it goes all the way back to the MyMac days.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Impressive pedigree.
Yeah, because we did 1,015 shows.
I thought your last one was $9.99.
No. We kept going. We kept going after that.
Okay.
Not too much more
All right.
because, well, we won't go into why we stopped.
Well, let me wrap up here. Give me a second.
Yes.
I'm going to wrap up here. One more thing. One more thing. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Darren and Guy for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time. Okay. Now we're going to say goodbye to the live stream. Now we're going to say bye, live stream, and then
Bye.
I'll be right back with you.
Yes,
I'll be right back with you. Bye, everyone.
Okay.